Oh, hello, everybody, and welcome to FanSpeak. I'm Chester C. Busby III, and we have a great panel today. We're going to be talking to Jonnie Allan, the creator of Stykman. How you doing today, Johnny?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Ex- Oh, excellent. Of course, we are also have Todd, the creator of Ignition and the artist extraordinaire. How you doing today, Todd?
Doing really well. How's the convention going?
It's pretty good. I went to the convention for the first time yesterday. It was my first comic book convention, and I have to say, I was a bit surprised because I've never been to one before. I expected to see comic books, and there weren't any.
It seems
So
more like
that
a
was a
horror fest.
shock.
It
Yeah, no,
seems
it's basically a comic culture convention, is what I think they should call it. A lot of photo opportunities, lots of cosplayers, but lots of stuff to buy, but not comic books. I was a bit surprised by that, but that's all right. It is what it is. And I got to meet some artists over there. I spoke to Mike Millett a little bit yesterday. I'm going to talk to him a bit more today. I'm going to do a little bit of a live stream later. But yeah, no, we can talk about that more a little bit going in here. But we also have Denali in here, the Denali Lama. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chester. Thank you for being here. And hey, guys, aloha. Welcome to today's fan speak. It's a little bit early, but the circumstances withstanding, let's have a great show today.
Yes, no, absolutely. When the circumstance he's talking about is I am in Tokyo, and I do
Mhm.
not have my normal wonderful setup that allows me to do Streamlabs and all that kind of other stuff. Thus, no intro today, guys. I do apologize, but at least I can still do the stream from Tokyo, which is kind of cool. Although I am in a hotel and I'm using their Wi-Fi, which terrifies me, but hopefully things will go all right. And of course, we
Yeah.
are also joined by the mighty Lord of Thunder himself, Thundaro. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello, hello. How is Tokyo? How's it doing?
It's good, man. Tokyo is a nice place, super clean, pretty simple and chilled city. Actually, the food's not great here, but oh well. It's but Tokyo is a nice city. I like Tokyo quite a bit. You would
Great.
think Tokyo would have great food, with
Yeah,
all seeing as they have most Michelin's of any city in the world, right? But
this
the food
guy.
here is really not good, man.
This.
But anyway, maybe it's for others. But also, just do our normal spiel that we do every day. We have all our links down below. Of course, we'd love to have you join our FanSpeak on Facebook. Please do so. And we also have links for myself, my Facebook and my Twitter. Just go over there and send me a message if you are interested in being on the show. And of course, this is called FanSpeak, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we have the fans of comics come and speak out about comics and the comic book industry as it stands. And of course, also, if you're interested in getting on the Drawn and Quartered Fan Edition, you can contact me there as well. We also have our podcast and our donation buttons, and we use those donations for giveaways. So if you're interested in getting involved with that, please do. Now I'm going to come over here to the chat real quick and just say a quick hello, and then we're going to get right into talking Jonnie Allan. Okay. I see we have, of course, Joshua is here as usual. Nice to see you, Joshua. And I see DeWolf is in there, but he's not over here. He says, I'm out. Gymnastics event today. Well, please enjoy your family, DeWolf. All right. So just keep in mind that as you're listening, one of the things that helps us out the most, even though we're at a different time than normal, is to go ahead and hit that share button and let all your friends and family know what's going on so they can come over here and join us. Okay. And we're going to get right into that. But Denali, is there anything else I have forgotten and neglected to mention that needs mentioning, sir?
Um, just hit that like, subscribe, and share button to help us grow this channel, especially that share button because we want to hear from everybody and watch this great context we'll be providing to you guys.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and get right into it today. We're here to talk to Jonnie Allan. Now, Johnny, you are a creator of Stykman, and Stykman, of course, is on the Indiegogo, and we're going to be taking a look at that and talking about it. But Stykman is not a new thing. This is a bit of a revival that's going on in the midst of the indie revival itself. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Seeing as you wear all hats, as you had told me, how did you get started in this crazy arts and comic book world, man?
Well, I suppose it goes all the way back to, like the 70s and the spinner racks and stuff, and being a kid and being able to pull those things off the 7-Eleven and just realizing this was a really cool medium that I wanted to have something to do with. And, tried to do as much as I could to learn. That there really weren't any of the different channels that you have available to you now. My goodness, if you had YouTube back then to be able to learn how to draw the way that you can, that would have been fantastic. But did everything I could to kind of learn, just by copying the panels and the pages and stuff like that. And then try to make as many connections. I lived in Southern California, so I had the opportunity to go down to the Comic-Con at different times and was able to see it kind of morph from the, the humble beginnings to basically where it, ended up becoming an exhibitor at the show and sitting on panels and stuff, and see it grow to the behemoth that has become. But the first work really got started was probably in the 90s, and it was an independent title. Honestly, I can't even remember. I think it was something like Alter or something like that. It was a Christian-based comic book. The was absolutely atrocious, which made my job so much harder trying to make the comic interesting, try to make the artwork interesting. But it was a good challenge, and so I was able to do that artwork, but it was still, it really wasn't at the level of professionalism or anything. It was still very amateurish. And one of the things that really helped me out and really inspired me more to kind of push forward in this career in comics is I was down at Comic-Con and I had a chance meeting with Mike Carlin, the senior editor over at DC. And I wasn't showing off my portfolio. I just happened to
Oh,
have it, and he asked if he could take a look at it. And he opened it up and he took a look at a couple of pages, and he gave me 2 small suggestions on what I could do to make the pages better. Kind of pull the camera back here, adjust the angle here, look at things a little bit differently when you're laying out the page. And that opened my eyes to how a page could actually be laid out and how the medium of comics being both story and art blends together. And having those little pearls of wisdom, being able to pull on that, just allowed me to keep on parlaying my career. And I never worked for any of the mainstream companies, but I did do a lot of work for a lot of independent titles, a lot of companies. And again, most of them are kind of drawing a blank because it was in the 90s, and some, most of them, as most independent careers, you don't really get paid. They promise you the world, but you don't really get paid for them. So you tend to forget about those ones that you work on because you didn't see any money for it. And a lot of times they wouldn't even go to print. So you do all this work and the stuff doesn't go to print, so nobody else gets to see it. You have in your portfolio, but again, it's a learning experience. It's a growing experience, but I continue to do that. And then when the time came, I really wanted to do my own thing. And that's where we start getting into the time of creating the bumbling buffoon of the branch, as I like to refer to him as.
and when did that come about? When did Stickman become a thing?
Well, okay, the idea goes back to, you think about coming up with a stick figure hero kind of thing, and it actually goes back to when I was really getting into drawing comics in the 90s and picking up other gigs and stuff. And I was sitting around, and of course you kind of bring alcohol into the mix. We're sitting around and we're carrying on and everything. And my dad actually happened to be with the group, and he was saying, I don't know where you get your talent, boy. I can't even draw a stick man. And he's like, well, there you go. There's your next character, Stykman. And we got to laughing about it and coming up with all kinds of stupid things. But I got to thinking, the next day is like, I can draw. I wonder what it would look like if I draw a stick figure. And Stykman is what I came up with, putting him in the hero cavalry outfit kind of thing with the gloves and the neckerchief and the boots, and the hero riding in to save the day. And that was the design that I originally came up with to start moving forward with the character. And then looking at it and going through different iterations of the character, it just wasn't working. It wasn't clicking for me. I couldn't make the story work, and so I was actually going to shelve the idea. And I took another look at the design for the character, because he was supposed to be the hero that everybody looked up to. Everybody idolized this guy. It's like, oh, here comes the hero. But you look at this guy and his eyes are held on by string. Who in the world would take him seriously? It's just not going to happen. That shift happened in my thinking once I looked at him as, what? He's more of the buffoon. He's more of the hero wannabe. That's when the character really started developing, and that's when I could really start crafting storylines around somebody, it's not a new concept of the hero wannabe who, bumbles his way through, still somehow manages to save the day thanks to an awesome sidekick and sheer dumb luck. But that's where it started fitting, and then I was able to start creating the characters around that and all the crazy villains and the heroes and stuff that filled out that and fleshed out that world. And then it was in coming up with that. It was basically, I had this idea, I had the drawings, I had the concepts, I had everything put together, and then I was thinking, okay, well, you get a lot of feedback from friends and family, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I love that stuff, and even some other professionals are like, man, that really looks cool. But what does the industry think? What does the rather unforgiving fan base think of this character? What would they? And so this was in 2002, and I could go to those days. You could still get a booth at Comic-Con, just prior to the show. Now there's a huge waiting list and stuff, but you could still get a booth. And so I paid for the booth, and I went down there with posters and character sheets and stickers and things like that, just to kind of get an idea of what people thought. And over the course of that weekend, I sold out of everything. I mean, everything. And everybody kept coming back, and they loved the idea, and they're like, I really want to see the comic. Where's the comic? And I thought, ooh, I guess I better get started on the thing. And that was that moment where it's like, okay, now I really need to get to work. Now I need to start putting this thing together, because I think I might have tapped into something that may be missing in the industry. So if that makes sense.
Cool. Oh, no, it makes great sense. That was very well laid out. I think you've done this before. Excellent. I would say the next question then is Stykman had a pretty good run. When was that? How did that come about? And how did it bring you to where we are today?
Okay, so the first iteration of Stykman, the first time that he came out, the first issue, I actually had it for Comic-Con 2005. So we had the booth, we had everything set up, and the first issue, ironically enough, I could not get the first issue to, let's see if I can put this the right way. The first issue doesn't end the way it's supposed to. It just kind of ends. It's just kind of it's not a cliffhanger. It just kind of ends. And it makes it seem like it's this one-off issue, and it wasn't meant to be that way. The problem is I could not get the last 5 pages colored and lettered in time prior to Comic-Con. So I had to make the call. I had it the way that it was. So I had to leave off those 5 pages and get it to the printer in time so we could get it down to Comic-Con. And so in 2005, I introduced Stykman to Comic-Con. We had, great success, if you will, from the reception, because it's a brand new title. And we did everything we could to get as many people over to the booth as possible. And the location I happened to luck out, and I had this location that was right in the Independent Publisher Pavilion. And if you've been to Comic-Con, it's the area where it's like red carpet and stuff like that. And we were right on the corner in front of the door that led out to the to the foyer area, to the outer hallway and everything. So anytime you walked by the middle of the convention center, all you saw was this big, huge thing of Stykman everywhere. So it was this great location. Everybody wanted to know who we killed to get that location. And it was just really luck of the draw. And from there, things started clicking from there. And then we kind of went on this tour of all the different, and I say we, my family, because it's basically me who does the whole comic. So it's just my wife and I kind of going around to the different conventions, and the bigger conventions. We'd hit Philadelphia and Chicago and Texas and all the ones that we could to spread the word about the book. And everywhere we went, we did extremely well. We went to Philadelphia, and we actually sold out of every copy that we had, including the viewing copy, the one that we would show people that was all wrinkled up and crinkled. Somebody, I'll take that one if that's all you got. So we sold out everything there. And again, so it's like, okay, we're on to something. And so then it was time to, now we've got to submit this to Diamond and see what Diamond says about it. And they picked up the book, and then it kind of went from there. And then we started, getting noticed by, I'm big in the marketing side of things. So like the guerrilla marketing kind of thing, because you don't have the ad budget that the big guys do. So you have to be creative. And these are the days for social media. So you have to do things, kind of think outside the box and figure out how you can get the word out about your book, and start sending out press releases and notifying everybody that you can, and writing letters and making phone calls, calling every retailer in the United States, calling all the magazines, doing everything you can to have them take notice. And when they started seeing the numbers that we were doing as far as selling at the different conventions, that's when all the different magazines started getting on board and giving us just glowing reviews, which was awesome. You never know what they're going to say, and you see those reviews, and they were pretty stellar. So, and then it was just a matter of developing from there and trying to keep the series going.
So do you think this is like this guerrilla marketing that you kind of coined right now? Do you think these Indiegogos and Kickstarter and this crowdfunding that's been going on recently and very successfully most recently, it's just a natural extension from what you've been doing all those years before now, because we have the internet and the social media so pervasive that it's easier to get connected? Do you think that's something, a natural evolution from that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's really cool because what's available now, like if you look at the industry, in spite of all the glowing praise that we got from the magazines, and in spite of all the sales that we're doing and all the response from the fans, it wasn't until we got picked up by Diamond that we got that feather in the cap, and we were now accepted. Because the guys in the top 3 companies and stuff, they tend to look down on the independent comics, and especially if you're not picked up by Diamond, there's this attitude like, well, come and talk to me when Diamond's distributing you, because they turn down like 95% of everything they're solicited. So once you get that, now all of a sudden you've arrived, and I was like, well, what changed? It's the same book. What makes it any different? Just because now Diamond, has again put it in their catalog, and they're now they've stamped it with their seal of approval, I guess. And now you don't need that. So with something like Indiegogo, you don't need that. You can just put your stuff out there, and it's just a matter of what the consumer sees. So in a way, like Diamond was a gatekeeper, and now you don't need that. You don't need that gatekeeper anymore. You can just go right around them and deliver it direct to fans. And it's just a matter of getting the word out, and you can put it out through social media. You can advertise on social media for, pennies on the dollar compared to, what it used to be to run a full page ad in, like Wizard Magazine when they were around. That was $3,500 to run a full page ad. And, most independents don't have a budget like that, so they can't afford that. But social media, my goodness, you tell the right person and everything just explodes and goes everywhere.
Yeah, no, it is that way. But you mentioned Diamond, of course, and we've talked about Diamond quite a bit here. And I think Thundaro himself has his own opinions on Diamond. And I guess maybe we could start that conversation. Yeah. How was it working for Diamond? And then I'll let Thundaro come in and go right ahead.
Well, yeah, ironically enough, we sold more books before we were in Diamond. And it was one of those things that we got in Diamond, everybody accepted. Now we're accepted, right? Now we're like, okay, roll out the red carpet. Aside from the fact that we're getting, like I said, praise from all around and stuff, but Diamond. So we would go to conventions, and people come up and like, oh man, I've heard about your book. Cool, you're distributed by Diamond, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll tell my retailer to order it for me. And you're like, what? I got it right here. You can get it here. And they're like, no, I'll just have my retailer order it. Well, come to find out that only about 40% of the retailers out there even support independent titles, for whatever reason. Well, I know what reason. Most of them are not actual business people. They're fans of the industry or fans of comics, and they really only order what they want. And at least this was, I think now the ones that have kind of held on through this storm that's been going on, I think they have a little more business savvy than the ones before. But I'd have people come up to me and say, well, I went to my retailer and they told me, I wanted them to order your book, but they told me they don't order independents. And I just thought that was the craziest thing. I'm like, well, that's a pre-sold book right there. Just collect the money up front. You don't have to sit there and say, well, no, I don't order independents. But we'd run into that all the time. So we're in Diamond now, but the retailers aren't ordering it because, again, the retailers don't really support the independents in there, and so you don't really see it. So we had to work twice as hard, not 3 times as hard, at the conventions, again, going around all around the country trying to promote the book and say, yes, we're in Diamond, but hey, buy the book here because most likely the retailer's not going to carry it. So that's one experience. I mean, we can go on and on with Diamond, but I'm curious to hear the other cryptic take there as far as what they think about Diamond.
Well, yes, I shall introduce you, Jonnie, to Thundaro. Thundaro, Jonnie.
Hello, Johnny. How you doing, bud?
Fabulous, man. Fabulous.
I have a very simple question. It is in that same vein. We can get to a longer conversation about Diamond's monopoly later. But with, and there's no real way to sugarcoat it, with the industry dying, especially at the big twos level, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen to the entire industry as a whole? I don't think it's going to go away. I think personally, I think it'll just balkanize. There'll be more independence, like you guys were talking about before we got on air here. And I was just curious what your thoughts are on that. If you think the diamond monopoly will hold, or if eventually there'll be somebody else maybe who pops up with these big crowdfunding campaigns. Just curious from your perspective.
My personal take, and kind of like you said, we were talking about it before, is if these bigger companies, if Marvel and DC and I mean, Image is its own thing, but if these bigger companies do not get their act together and start realizing that what they're putting out there is not resonating with people, and they're losing sales, okay, it's going to and they stop their shenanigans, what they do with the retailers, and forcing them to order so many different books. If you want the special cover, you got to order this, and if you want that, and they play all these games with them, and they force these retailers to order all these books that end up sitting on their shelf. Those retailers are going to end up closing up shop. And if we lose, I mean, at the time when Stykman first came out, and I know this because we called every single retailer nationwide, and we sent them postcards and wrote them letters. There were over 3,000 retailers over 10 years ago. There are now, I think it's less than 1,400, right around that number. Okay. If we lose 100 or 200 more retailers, if those shops close up, I don't see how Diamond can sustain themselves to continue distributing, the books. I don't know how they're going to be able to afford to do that without hiking the cover prices up even more than what they are right now.
Right.
And I really don't see how, you look at, I'm in Tucson now. There are 4 stores in Tucson. One of the stores had 2 locations. He had to close up one of his locations because he just couldn't keep it open. The sales weren't there to justify having a second location. And and another one had to move to another smaller place who'd been here forever. And he's now in a smaller shop because, again, the sales aren't there, and he's not driving as much traffic because people are looking elsewhere for their entertainment. Now, will the industry survive? Sure. I mean, it weathered the storm of the 90s, when they nearly collapsed it with all the the gimmicks and the stuff that they were putting out in the 90s, and all the investors that were running in saying, ooh, I'm going to pay for my college and stuff like that, or my kid's college, with this one comic book, and oversaturating the market and over, supply everywhere. And then the demand dropped off and it nearly killed it, but we still weathered that storm. So what'll probably happen is things will shift. Things will change. You've got the digital side of things that people enjoy, but then there's also the part of the market that still enjoys having the pamphlet in their hand. And so that'll continue, but it's going to it'll probably go through changes, kind of like what's happening with Indiegogo. There'll be more of a direct to consumer, cutting out the distributor. And if they end up cutting out, and if Diamond collapses for whatever reason, that's their own fault. Okay. They created that headache and the problems themselves. And that has to do with kind of sorry, drawing a blank there real quick. I had something flash up on my screen and it distracted me. I don't know. That train of thought just left me standing.
That's all right. Well, we're talking about the distribution and we're talking about the local stores and how they're not having enough, income coming in because of all the lack of sales and stuff, and the media moving. I do think the media has moved quite a bit. One of the things I've noticed, and I think we've talked about it on this show quite a few times, is the fact that web comics are very much alive and very popular. We're talking about millions of people are downloading and interacting and reading web comics. And one of the things we've been trying to do over here, or that I've heard a lot of people interested in doing, is to try to see if we can link up with that community and try to bring that community in, because web comics are certainly fun, but there's nothing like having a book in your hand, Right. And so I'm kind of wondering if that's where it's going to end up surviving, is in that format,
Well, that'll be part of it. I think it'll be that, and it'll also be the direct market. I think people will really like that's never going to change. People said the same thing about books. They were going to go away, and they didn't. What happened is they became direct market. I think you're going to see that happen more and more. That's just my opinion. What were you going to say, John?
Well, I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right. It's going to be an amalgamation of the two. You're going to be, you're going to have, you know, and I wouldn't even doubt if you start seeing, you know, where you have people through the direct market are also pointing towards something on the digital side of things. So you have, you know, for, you know, future, for an extra story or something like that, visit our website and you'll see some of the web comics on there. But, you know, I mean, from what I've seen in that explosion, I mean, I think it's great seeing that, but people will always want the pamphlet. They're always going to want to have that comic in their hand. The smell of a new comic, you just can't get away from that. It just always brings
That's
back
right.
memories.
Well,
And you know, I mean, it's just it'll just change, and the delivery system will be different. You know, kind of like what's happening with Indiegogo, that we can now take it direct to the consumers, and we can make a really good product, especially with the funding. You hit the funding goal and you exceed that funding goal, and then you offer the different stretch goals throughout to make that investment that somebody's, you know, I know that investment's the wrong word, but the backing of that campaign and buying that book to make it that much more valuable. Um, you know, with all the things that are added into that, you really can't do it by just picking up a book off the shelf.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Ellie.
And if you like these contests, please make sure you hit that like button and share and subscribe if you haven't to. But John, yeah, I definitely agree with the comments said. We do have strong opinions about Diamond. I know our retailers that I go to, you know, they don't really like Diamond because about at least one box out of say 5 comes damaged, and they can't really use any of those products because they're bent or crushed or anything. But that also goes with another point that, you know, while this is changing, there's always going to be that issue of fulfillment, because once you get to a certain point, fulfillment does become an issue to make these comics sent out timely. So do you think that there should be more of a fulfillment companies starting up to kind of rival Diamond, so to speak, or another way to get these books out of the way
Well,
to into consumers' hands?
yeah, I think what you'll see, and you saw this happen with you know, like Amazon, FBA. So like fulfillment by Amazon, you had the people who were making their money through fulfillment by Amazon, and you had, you know, the difficulty of trying to get all of your, you know, say it was somebody who was importing like a private label product or something from China, the difficulty of getting it, you know, yeah, into their hands, getting everything labeled, and then passing that on to Amazon. All of a sudden, you had these middlemen that were springing up, these fulfillment houses that were exclusively dealing with Amazon products, and so and they would handle all that stuff for you. So they would label all the products and they'd ship it off to Amazon for you for your fulfilled by Amazon account. And take a small cut, a small percentage, you know, touch fees and things like that. So you have fulfillment companies that are out there now that work with you know, like Indiegogo and Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns. I think what'll probably happen, you'll see 1, 2, 3 rise to the top that are exclusively comics. So as the platform continues to grow and more indies start coming on there and more people realize this is going to be the way to get their comics, you'll have fulfillment companies that'll start stepping up and saying, okay, we can handle all of that for you. And they'll work out the different logistics. They'll receive all the books from the printer and make sure that they get sent out with all of the different stretch goals and things included with your item, or if it's just the book. But I see that where that's going. There'll be somebody that'll step up that'll be exclusively a comic book fulfillment house that'll kind of do what Diamond does, getting the books out to the retailers, but they'll have it set up in a way to where you know, again, you're sending out individual issues and getting all the shipping done. There's so many moving parts to get the fulfillment done. Now, I have the experience of fulfillment because we did it to begin with. Before Diamond picked us up, we were fulfilling all the orders ourselves and sending those out to retailers and making sure everything was packaged properly so nothing got damaged. So I'm familiar with handling all that, but most of these indie creators are not. They don't realize, you know, when they have their stuff fun, it's like, man, this is crazy. So I personally believe there will be a company or 3 or 5 that step up that say, hey, we're the comic fulfillment house. We're going to take care of that stuff for you.
Yeah, and I really hope we have someone in our community over here steps up and does that. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. It's a common conversation we have here about distribution, and it's we haven't really gotten deep into the Diamond conversation because it's more than just their control of the market and them deciding who gets in and who doesn't. It also goes deeper than that. It has to do with them sending over, over issuing things, too many comics coming in, working with Marvel and stuff to make sure their counts look a little better, even though they still look pathetic. There's a lot of little shady things that Diamond does, and it's simply because they have a monopoly, and you need to crack that monopoly. And
Yeah.
I hope that there are people in this community who will step up and will do that, because I think there's an opportunity. A lot of people over here are really worried that if this direct market through Indiegogo is something that is sustainable. Now, I personally believe it is, because I've been doing board games with Kickstarter for quite a long time, and it's very sustainable. But there's a lot of fear and trepidation going on over here, and I get it because it's new. But we do need that kind of things, and not even that. It's just fulfillments. For instance, some of these campaigns get quite large, and if you get 10,000 books you need to get out, well, that's hard to do in your basement or on your kitchen table. You need companies that will handle that, and there are ones that exist. But I would like to see stuff in this community itself build up. Also, want to acknowledge some of the people I have here in the chat. We got PS Melter. Hello. He was, when you were talking about the moving of models and stuff with webcomics, he makes an analogy that like cam girls on Twitch doing better than adult film stars. Well, thank you, PS Melter. That's very, very informative. Scott Phelps is here, and he says, Stykman rules. Yes,
Oh.
indeed. And we're going to be getting
Hey,
into that
what's
real
going
quick
on,
here.
buddy?
There you go.
That's cool.
We also have Sierra Whiskey over here. He's saying lots of nice things, and he's talking about the middlemen in business are on the way out, and I think that's a good point. It is. We got Abel Parsons in here. We got Pixel Trader. We got Drarikin. We have lots of people in here having comments, and thank you guys all for coming in. And I think this is a good segue here, Johnny. We're going to move into the Indiegogo that you have going on. We could talk Diamond all day. But let's talk about the Indiegogo. So Denali's going to go ahead and bring that up, and we're going to start looking at the new iteration of Stykman. So while Denali does that, Johnny, why don't you go ahead and introduce what are you doing with him now? What's happening with Stykman as we speak?
As far as, well, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm picking the series back up where we kind of left off last time. But it's done in a way, what I did is I reworked the storyline that was supposed to be the next issue, and I reworked it and added a bunch of new story to it to kind of flesh it out and make it more accessible to somebody if they were just picking up the issue for the first time. So anybody who's jumping on, you're not missing anything from the previous iteration of Stykman. So it's the same bumbling buffoon, the same silliness that goes on. This time, it's just a matter of really getting into the meat of the story and introducing more. You get to learn more about the character behind Stykman, who in this new version, it's who's going to be the main arch nemesis of Stykman to create kind of a sticks and stones theme, and that's General Saab the Dirt Clod. And this guy is basically just to kind of, you can see pictures of him on the and some of the artwork from the new issue on the Indiegogo page, but everybody always draws these rock creatures, just solid and stuff, and they're all stones, like Korg in the latest Thor Ragnarok movie and stuff. He was rock solid, and you got the Thing and everybody else. I wanted to do somebody who was kind of falling apart over time, and what better than a dirt, so you have somebody that needs to keep himself, hydrated and moist and stuff like that. Otherwise, he's just going to crumble apart. And so every time he moves, there's little pieces falling off him, which, in hindsight and looking back when I'm drawing that, it's kind of a headache to make sure that I show all those crumbly pieces and stuff like that. But, here's this guy that basically, just to say that the premise behind Stykman is he is the next wannabe hero who's trying to fill the void that was left behind by the retirement of the legendary hero, the person that everybody looked up to, the person that everybody worshipped, and that was the legendary Captain Buck Naked. And Buck Naked is kind of like this Nick Fury-esque kind of character. Actually, if you scroll up, there he is right there. So he's the one that everybody idolized. He's the one that everybody looked up to. He's the one, that basically when he stepped down, the whole world was like, oh no, what are we going to do now? And um, basically General Zod is upset. So Stykman is trying to follow this guy's footsteps, and he's doing a very bad job. Okay, but he doesn't believe he's doing a bad job. So everybody has that one friend who thinks he's really, really good at something, but he's really not. Okay, that's Stykman. So Stykman thinks he's the hero, but he's not. Stykman is actually the hero who tends to save the day more often than not, is his enigmatic sidekick there, Al. And he's the guy who's always there, who's kind of stepping in, saving the day and stuff like that. But Stykman is the one who always takes the credit. Again, not a new idea, but a new twist on that idea. So, you can look at things like The Tick was kind of the same way, which Stykman was always compared to. In all the different reviews and articles, people always compared it to The Tick. You've got Inspector Gadget, you've got Hong Kong Phooey and Maxwell Smart, and all the bumbling. Yep. And it's usually the right-hand person or the sidekick who's the one who usually saves the day. But they take the credit for it.
Yeah. I love the little entry here for Al. An enigmatic extraterrestrial with a heart of gold and an eclectic resume.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to get into, for the first time, I'm going to tell the backstory of Al, which people used to ask me, a lot about the character. They love him because he doesn't say anything in the comic. He never says a word. And he's always at the right place. He always knows the right people. He just seems to know everything and everybody and how to handle a situation, and he handles it really cool. So I have, in the Indiegogo campaign, I have a second book. You have the comic book, and then you have the thing, it's called Behind the Branch, a big book of buffoonery. And in that second book is an 8-page story that's called All About Al, and it's the backstory of where Al came from and how he got to be who he is, which I think people are really going to enjoy.
That is very cool. Yeah, let's go up to the top of the Indiegogo page, Natalie. Let's take a look at how it's doing here. Well, first of all, just from talking to you and listening to you and hearing the history of Stykman and how you've gone along in the industry and stuff is interesting enough. But I took a look at this page, and this is a fun Indiegogo you have set up here, and I do hope that everybody over in the chat checks out the link that Thundaro is putting up, and goes over here and looks at this and supports this. This is a really fun-looking comic. I think it in our community, another one we saw similar to this maybe is Bigfoot Bill. Same type of humorous, fun action comic. So let's go ahead up here, and we see that the miscellaneous adventures of Stykman, a laugh out loud, all ages adventure about a hero wannabe, an enigmatic sidekick versus a crumbling cat. Excellent. Very nice, very nicely put. And you've already made some money here, and you get some 15 days left. But you do have a fixed goal of $15,000. So that is ambitious.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can help you start moving toward that goal.
Well, I appreciate that. And
why don't we come down the page here a little bit, and you can tell us what's going on.
Yeah, that's, as far as the goal, that's one of the tricky things to kind of set that up. But the reason why we chose that number, just to let everybody know, is because this is not a one-shot comic book. The goal is to get into producing these comics more and more. So I want to continue this series. I want to bring out 3 or 4 issues next year. I want to do the same thing the following year. We want to keep this thing going. And if, all the money that we raise, in the campaign, as well as anything above that, is just all going to be put back into the comic to make sure that we can continue the thing going. So that's why we set that amount. So yeah, very ambitious, but again, we've cranked up the advertising and tapped into, there's still, what's amazing to me is people are talking about Stykman again after 10 years of silence. So that jazzes me. That gets me really excited. And so now, if people that are on this chat and the people who see this campaign, if they feel like Stykman is stalking them because they see ads everywhere, well, he is. So
good. Yes. There you go. Yeah. Denali, why don't you go ahead and open up that featured for me, please? Now, this right here, where we love to see it featured up at the top. It's a really good using of that tool. Now, what you're doing here is you get a 48-page comic, and then you also have the an ash can is with that, right? And that's talking about.
No, I'm sorry. It's a full-size book. It's actually almost as big as the 48-page comic itself. And
it is. It's not an ash can. Oh,
yeah. So.
Yeah. No, you should put that in there because we're used to ash cans, so you probably want to let that be known. Yeah.
Yeah, that I actually have an image that I need to upload to that perk there to make sure that people can see it's actually another book.
Okay.
But
Well,
that book is
that's even better.
yeah, the book, the Behind the Branch, is going to include, mainly the history behind the character. A lot of it's not, a lot of people want to do sketchbooks and stuff. There's going to be sketches, but there's also going to be character reveals in that of characters that are coming into the series soon. There's going to be interactive stuff. So there'll be a way for you to link out of the book, so kind of to other content that's elsewhere on the web. So other videos, documentaries, things like that will be included. There's going to be a scavenger hunt in the book, because in my drawings, on virtually every page, I hide something in the background in the comic page itself. And the reason why I do that is because when you spend so much time, on these pages, and because I handle all the tasks on the book, I see that page, 5 times, with the drawing and the inking, the coloring. And when you stop and think about how long it takes somebody to actually read a page, it's kind of heartbreaking. So I want people to slow down, take their time, and find these little nuggets of pop culture that are hidden within the panels there. And that used to be a lot of conventions. People come up and say, yeah, I found this, this, and this. I think I found everything. And I'd make a comment, well, did you find Hong Kong Phooey's car? Oh, no, I didn't see that. So they'd run out to go try and find that issue of where it might be. And that's what we're doing in that. So there's going to be that scavenger hunt, and then kind of an award system that's going to be available to people that actually find everything. So like I said, it's going to be interactive. It'll be a way for people to go from the book online, and a few other little tricks and stuff that I've got hidden in there.
Oh, that's cool. That's very clever. That's a good way to do it. Yeah, this project is fun, man. I love the look of it. The art is great. Just from looking at the writing and the quips and talking to you, I really enjoy your writing. It's proper writing, and that's always nice to see as well. But it's a lot of fun. You definitely got a big supporter over here in Scott Phelps. He says, "Yes, please get on it. I've been waiting years for more Stickman. It is such fun, an enjoyable character. And Johnny's artwork is awesome." He's a big fan.
That's cool. That's cool. Thanks, Scott. You're awesome, man. So,
yeah. But yeah, coming down here the page now. Go ahead, Danelli.
So I see that you're talking about the award-winning that you've been distributed with Diamonds Comics, Certified Cool, and 3 years in a row by Wizard Magazine while it was still up.
Yeah.
I see $25 per, $45 for 2 copies, and $80 for two books of each. So pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And a branch head sketch. Nice.
Yeah, so that's the comic, the book, the Behind the Branch, and then it's a 6x9 hand-drawn, inked, and hand-colored head sketch. And again, I got another image I need to put up there so people can see what that looks like when those are done.
Oh, awesome. And then $500 you're giving. It does. I guess this all comes with the book and behind the scene with the page, or just the page alone for this one?
No, that comes with everything. That's the so if you click on that and expand it, it shows that it's got the book, the Behind the Branch, and actually what I should include, that head sketch should be in there too. So it's the book, the Behind the Branch, the head sketch, and the original page, which I have never. I've had a lot of offers for my original art, and I've never sold it. And so giving it away, it's one of those things that you had to fight my wife on that one because she didn't want me to give that stuff up. But I'm offering that as well. And then the final one is a chance to appear in the comic, and then you will actually, you'll receive that page along with everything else that you appear on.
Oh, nice. So let me see, get signs and then stick in the mud. So is that the name of this book, Stick in the Mud?
This one's called Stick in the Mud, yes. So each one, try, a little play on that. I think issue number 3 had Stykman kind of done in a pick up sticks kind of thing. He was buried in the sticks from the pick up sticks game. That scene right there with the dodgeball, that was from issue number 3. That was how they basically that was the Battle of Armageddon right there. It was settled over a dodgeball game.
Mm.
And that was one of those that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to. A fun little story. I was in Chicago when that comic first came out, and I was at the Chicago Comic-Con there, and I wasn't sure if I was able to capture that because dodgeball games, there's so much energy, it's so fast, they're over quickly. am I going to be able to convey that? And I was coming out of the hotel, and there was a group of guys standing around. They were talking about that scene. Had no idea that I was standing there. Had no idea that I was creator of the book, but they were talking about this comic that did this dodgeball game and how cool and fun. And I was just like, yes, okay, I was able to get it. That's cool.
Awesome.
Well, you're definitely getting some support from the chat.
Cool.
We have PS Melter said, "This is cool. I can't believe I've never heard of this book." I agree, Melter. He also continues and says, "Saying this is a little tick makes me want to support it. Humor superhero comics like Stykman, Tick, Flaming Carrot, and Freakazoid is like being a kid again." Yeah, no, these are always great. And he mentioned Hong Kong Phooey, which I loved that when I was a kid.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that was always it's kind of the intro. I think it's on the website where it says, in the tradition of the Tick, in honor of Hong Kong Phooey, in memory of Maxwell Smart, comes the next arrogant, not so bright superhero. So if you scroll up a little bit, people that are in the chat, if you've never heard of this comic, what I'm offering is a chance to read the very first issue of Stykman, so you can find out what the buzz was all about. And you can go to the campaign page.
There you go.
Yeah. So
how many total issues did you produce?
We actually only got to 3, and that was Diamond's fault. And you know, again, we could talk about Diamond all day, and I could tell you what really happened there. But yeah, I only got 3 issues out, and I had, I don't remember how many we had ready to go. And unfortunately, it was just a painful time.
Well, if you don't want to cover it, you don't have to. But I think we'd like to hear, what did Diamond do, man?
Yeah, no, I have no problem doing that, because that's actually why, you know, one of the main reasons why we stopped doing the book is when issue number 4, I was making some tweaks on the comic and I was a little bit behind. And so I contacted my rep over at Diamond and I said, you know, I'm going to be about, I think it was 27 days late delivering the book. I want to make a couple of changes. I want to get this done. Wasn't happy with the color on one page and stuff. And because I was going to be late, now I understand late is not good. I was in the military, 5 minutes, 5 days, late is late. Okay. And that's not good, but 27 days late. Okay. And what my rep told me is like, okay, well, you're going to be late. We're just going to go ahead and cancel the book. We're going to cancel those orders. And I was like, what do you mean you're going to cancel orders? Well, you're late. You know, we're not going to be able to deliver it. And that looks bad on our end. And so we're just going to cancel the book. Now, 27 days compared to Marvel, which usually runs about 8 months in the rears with Diamond. And, you know, I mentioned that to a couple of retailers and they were freaking out because they were still waiting on books from the bigger companies. And the idea of being so anyways, they canceled that book. And so issue number 4, they canceled all the orders, they canceled the book, and they didn't even bother to notify the retailers. They didn't even tell them that they canceled the book. So, you know, I've got retailers emailing me up saying, you know, hey, where's the book? What's going on with the book? You know, I'm hearing stories and stuff, but they didn't bother to tell them. And then plus they wouldn't give me the order slip or any idea who those retailers were, so I could personally contact them and apologize and also say, hey, there might be another workaround so we can get the issue out to you. At least we can get it printed and get it out to you. And then because they canceled issue number 4, they said, well, you know what, since we did 4, we're going to cancel 5 too. And from now on, we're not going to allow you to submit individual issues. You're going to have to submit only trades. And so in order to get issue, and so I'm talking to the rep, I said, so let me get this straight. In order for somebody who already bought issues 1, 2, and 3, in order for them to get 4 and 5, they have to buy 1, 2, and 3 all over again. Well, yeah, that's what they have to do. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. Wow. You guys are the ones who look bad. I'm the one who looks bad doing something like that. And that was basically, that was the battle. And it, you know, there was more to it and more hostility and stuff, but it was just basically at that point, that's it. I'm done. Pull my account. I don't want to go through you guys anymore. We'll try and go another way.
Wow.
And, you know, because they're the monopoly, they're the only ones there, the only game in town, they can do that kind of stuff. And then again, trying to go the long route and contacting all the retailers, it just wasn't panning out. And so we just kind of had to say, yeah, this isn't going to work out, unfortunately. And so we never got to produce more. And wow. You know, Scott, like many people, like Scott in the chat there, they were, you know, what happened to the book? Where'd it go? And you know, remember, this is 2008, so this is just when social media is starting to take, you know, come on the scene. So I mean, you had MySpace, but nobody was really using MySpace, and Facebook was still in its infancy. YouTube really wasn't really getting going, so there was no way to really use those channels just yet. And had it been a year later, 2 years later, Oh yeah, I wouldn't have had any problem at all. We would have taken everything directly through to the consumers through the social media channels and stuff like that.
Wow. See, kids, this is what gatekeeping looks like.
Yeah, this is definitely the definition of gatekeeping. So.
Yeah.
Johnny, was there ever any plans for you to become more of a publisher also? In meaning that you would branch out with maybe other artists and other things coming out of AKA Comics?
Yes, that was always the plan, to kind of bring other people in, because I know that, and I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to be in, well, let me back up a little bit. When I first wanted to get started, when I first wanted to get into producing my own comic, I would go to the conventions and I would sit in the panels, and I would sit in, I even sat in panels for the retailers, when the retailers would hold their panels, to find out what retailers were looking for in comic books, to make sure that when I produce something, it's something they would want to pick up. So I tried to learn everything I could about producing the comics, and then all these other people that were offering, oh yeah, we'll be there for you, we'll help you out, no problem. You just say the word and we'll answer any question. Well, when the time came, those people were gone. They scattered. There was no help whatsoever. And I'm one of those. It's it's kind of like Thanos at the end of Age of Ultron. Fine, I'll do it myself. And you put your hand in the glove. But in realizing that, when I did it and figured out how to put all this stuff together in publishing, I realized there's so many other independents out there that want to raise their hand and want to say, hey, notice me, but they're not necessarily sure or confident enough to do that. And so I wanted to open it up as we continue to grow, as Stykman got bigger and bigger, to open that AKA Comics up to other independents coming in so that we could start publishing their books as well. That was always the plan.
Wow. Well, I have to say, very good interview, man. Really enjoyed talking to you. Wish we could talk more, but we're coming up to the end of our time here, so we're going to have to start wrapping up. And we've had a lot of interaction from the chat. They're all very interested, and very. I think you're going to have some fans coming out of here, and I certainly hope you guys go and check it out. Thundaro is going to put that link up there again for you. Yeah, I think it's a great looking project, man, and it's unfortunate what happened to it earlier, but hopefully we could see Stykman get rolling again and get you back to doing what you're doing and continue what you had started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across the panel up here and let everybody ask their last questions of you, or last comments that they might have. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with Thundero.
Alrighty. No, I don't really have any questions other than that. You guys kind of already hit it all about Diamond and the main problem Diamond is and has. I did have a statement though. It looks really good. I like it. I think you are doing the right thing. I think this is the right time to be trying this now. So just basically a good job. I think you're going to do well, and I hope people listening get behind you.
Cool. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, Johnny, don't give up. This book makes me miss some books I used to collect, which might seem weird to people, but I was a fan of Sugar Ray Finhead. I don't know if you remember that one, from Doug Barron.
Yes.
These books were just they're top notch. You produce a professional looking book, a professional quality looking book, and we're gonna have to get you on some more shows, and I definitely want to have you on my show. I had some questions, but I obviously you do such a good interview that it went so smoothly. There really wasn't time for a lot of questions, but we'll get you on my show and we'll ask you some more questions.
I appreciate it. That'd be great, Todd.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Denali?
No, I think we can definitely talk a lot about Diamond distributions and how that system isn't working, and that we really do need a break from that vice grip that Diamond and the big two has on the comic book industry, and say we don't need to have their approval to produce good work. Let the work speak for itself and let the consumer decide. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, because we're kind of fed up with the whole thing. And we're going to actually go to the creators like yourself and say, if you can produce good quality work that we enjoy, and, and have a good time while we're doing that, then I'm readily here to support you so you can continue entertaining me. And that's
Cool.
one thing great. That's one thing great about this movement. That's this comic renaissance, this comic revival, this comic reconstruction that is happening and flourishing right now.
I think so. You know, that's how I see it. If you don't mind me, you know, just saying that comics should be fun. Comics should be an escape. Comics should be something that, you know, my goal with Stykman is just so people could sit back and they read it and they go, man, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Did it change the world? No, but man, I sure enjoyed that. And that's what comics used to be for me as a kid. And that's what comics should be again. And what the independents are doing through this movement to and that's the voice they're trying to say, even though they're being attacked and being called all kinds of atrocious names. It's like, no, all we want to do is we want to fulfill this mode of escapism. We want to create something to make you just take a break. The world is scary enough. We just want to take a break from the respite and go, oh yeah, that's what I needed. Okay, now I can open my eyes again and get back into the real world. And that's the goal. And I love seeing this happening. And you know, I hope it continues. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I think it will. We're in early days here, and I think next couple of years we'll see some very interesting things transpire, and I think we'll see some new companies and new ideas being born, and that's always exciting to be on the forefront of that type of thing when it's going on. Simon says over here in the chat says, "Never thought I'd say this, but now I miss Capital." Wow.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember
but
that.
Sure, yeah. But I want to thank you very much for coming on, Johnny. This has been everyone has been Jonnie Allan and his Stykman. It looks really good. You guys go over and check out that Indiegogo page. It's sitting right up there. Thundara put it up the link, and we really enjoyed having you here, man. And I think it's a great project, and I really hope you guys go over and not only check it out but support it. Get behind it. This is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to show these indie comics. We're trying to create something as direct market, cut that middleman out, like Sierra Whiskey had said. And these are the type of projects we need to support. We talk about a lot of Indiegogos over here. We have a lot of creators over here, and we interview them and talk to them. But this dude right here, he knows what he's doing, man. He's got his stuff together. It is professional, and it is what we want. We want more of it. So please go and support this man and his comic book. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you again. And we're going to go ahead and let Denali give our closing comments of the day, and he's going to close out the show. So thank you very much, Johnny.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thank you for
Awesome.
joining us. Make sure to support the miscellaneous adventure of Stykman. Even if you can't back it, you can do your small part by posting links on Facebook, Twitter, or even copy a link and post it on forums. Let's get the word out and get that one person that we all know that's a loud mouthpiece and get buzz going on with this, because this is a good comic book that's very fun, and you might actually get some enjoyment with your kids. So go out, support it.
Mm-hmm.
But as always, your perception shapes your reality. So always make it a good one.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Cool. Thanks, guys.